Does the Requiem of Gabriel Fauré have a special significance for you?
I think it is an incredible piece of music. When I think of the great requiems, I think of Mozart, I think of Brahms, and I think mystical Fauré and Duruflé, as being similar in some ways. But I think of those as the sort of the pinnacle of requiems.
There is a canon. We're living in a wonderful time where we can look back over the last 200 years, and there's a whole body of settings of the Mass for the Dead, and Mozart comes to mind, and Verdi, and Berlioz, and Duruflé, and Dvorak, and yet this Fauré, Gabriel Fauré's Requiem, is sort of special in that it is one that was written for a parish choir. It was written for a church choir to be used in a church setting, to be used as liturgy. And so it has been used, and church choirs and university choirs and community choirs around the world perform it. And so we're fortunate to be doing that in this moment, both for the occasion of our celebrations and as a memorial.
Christchurch's community concerts are an important part of our ministry. This concert is called a Concert of Remembrance. Why?
I think after the first year of the pandemic, George and I were talking about what we could do to remember people that have gone before us and have died from COVID-19. And, we tried to find the time to do it, and the pandemic dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. And I think it was, we felt that we should do it when we were sort of coming out of the pandemic. And I think that this spring has really been a good time for us to do it.
And at the same time, we also have, as a community and as families in this church and in this neighborhood and in this country, have been faced with an ongoing string of personal losses. We have lost beloved members of our community recently. We have memories of people who were at our last big community concert in 2019, the Messiah, who are not here, and that is part of the story of any institution that lasts a long time. But there is also a kind of remembrance, a memorialization, if you will, of people who have gone before and who are in many, many ways responsible for the fact that we can be here at this time, performing this music, sharing the spirit of what it means to come together in music as well as a community.
Dr. Moore, you've done both of these works here at Christ Church. What are your thoughts in returning to them again?
We did that in 2012, so it's been quite a while. And it was part of our All Saints remembrance, and it was basically our choir. So as George has said, I think the difference with this is that we're inviting the community to come and perform with us, and so there'll be a much larger choir. George is bringing in an orchestra from New York and the surrounding area, and so I think for a service of remembrance and as being part of the community, it'll be a much larger event than just an evensong of remembrance.
We have, this memorial idea is quite wonderful in that, we are remembering that we are standing on the shoulders of people who've gone before, but we're also a historic church in Short Hills and in the diocese and in the larger Episcopal Church, and we are part of a real tradition of the Episcopal Church in this country and of the larger Anglican tradition and the global music community. And there are people in our orchestra, for instance, who are also part of the great history of music in this larger community. There, for instance, one of the players who's the leader of the violas and who is contracting the orchestra is in fact one of the founders of the Orchestra of St. Luke's. And she, has played West Side Story with Leonard Bernstein, and she was instrumental in organizing the first Music for Life concerts at Carnegie Hall. There's another person in the orchestra who actually played Appalachian Spring with Aaron Copland, who was a student of Nadia Boulanger, who was a student of Gabriel Fauré. And so there is a way in which all these circles come together, and in a rather profound way, this is also a memorial for Gabriel Fauré.
Mm. Is there any connection to the 140th anniversary here at Christ Church in Shore Hills?
Let me touch that. It's something that has spoken repeatedly, I feel, from the music itself. And that is, both these pieces come from a particularly Mediterranean, if not French, tradition of mysticism, which involves a kind of sacred space, the sacred space of repetition. Now we've seen it, we partake of it every Sunday when we sing the music from Taizé, where the explicit as well as the implicit purpose is a kind of repetition, like working a prayer bead or repeating a chant, where the act of repetition sort of gets you into a different psychic and spiritual space, and you're examining things differently. And the other thing is the music starts to flash, and the message, the words start to flash, and the prayer beads start to flash, and you're aware of the presence of the sacred differently than you might be otherwise. This is part of an ongoing French tradition, and it is part of our, it is part of what the physical reality of this music is, and we touch it all the time that we sing. It's present in both pieces. And one of the things that, if you expand the picture a little bit wider, it also speaks to a train, endless flow of sound and of events and of time. And in a way, it's very appropriate for our 140th anniversary because, it speaks to a music, a story that has been going on, and we're just joining it for this moment, the moment of the Requiem and the moment of the Cantique de Jean Racine. But music has been going on, and it will continue after we stop singing and after the concert ends. And one is reminded of a visit that Leonard Bernstein made to Nadia Boulanger, who was Fauré's student, in her very, very late days, when she was in her 90s and quite blind, and he asked her what she was doing musically, and she said, I hear music. He said, oh, what music do you hear? Thinking it would be some great, French music or, something wonderful from the past. And she said, une musique, ni commencement ni fin. She said, I hear one music without beginning or end. And in a way, it's almost like that is a message for, not just for us who are performing the music of her teacher Fauré, but also for all of us who are coming together in this moment at this 140th anniversary, 140 years behind us, for 1 hour of music with 140 years or maybe more ahead of us. And it sort of sums up the essence of why we are here at Christ Church, not just for this concert, but every Sunday before, now, and in the years to come.
And George, as you had said this morning, the piece is as old as Christ Church, slightly older.
Slightly older, yeah. So that is, slightly younger. Slightly younger. So there was a Christ Church before there was a Fauré Requiem. The pieces are about 1887. Christ Church is 1882. But they're about the same time. The Cantique de Jean Racine comes from 20 years earlier. And so they're from, these are pieces that are profoundly connected to our history. Yeah, so it's so there is a really touching connection there.
What would you like listeners or attendees to carry away with them from this concert?
Well, I think the beauty of the music. I think the effort of all the performers and their love for the music as well. I think that's going to be very apparent.
All great music, at the end of the day, if it's rooted in human experience, it's always, it's always a mirror for us on which to dwell, with due apologies to Elizabeth Bishop. It always reflects our deepest state of mind, if we're really listening, because the great composers knew how to extract, reflect the essence of human experience. So, hopefully people will come, be here together for the hour and feel a little more centered with themselves and with their community and with those around them than they might have been in before, and carry that into their life afterwards.